Friends! Whew. I need to sit down.
The whole trip, like a 2-hour, 3-hour drive or whatever.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Obviously, the best looking hams in the hobby. All right, you ready? And if you don't believe me, look to your right. Look to your left.
And you're lying.
Look in the mirror. Okay, make your own decision. But we are the nicest too. Yes, we are. Okay, we have a special guest today. Our tech talk is Mike Sabo in a WCP, and he has a fabulous presentation. It comes to us with the highest of recommendations. And I am pleased to welcome Mike. And Mike, come on down. It is all you.
That is by far the best introduction I've ever had. Thank you. I hope you can hear me. Clicker, please.
Oh,
That's it?
yes, of course.
No, thank you. So I want to thank Doug for letting me speak tonight. Let me get out of the way so you guys can see.
You might need to speak just a little louder because that doesn't amplify.
No, I
to the room.
understand. I cannot be as loud as you. But
No one.
I will do my best. All right.
I apologize, but I can't.
Yeah, so break out the hearing aids if necessary, just in case. But so anyhow, Doug asked me to do a little presentation on Marks and on the Summit County system, which is a partner with Marks, and also we're going to do a little piece about the new dispatch center that we opened up in Summit County, as well as our relationship with Aries, which Kevin is involved. Where he disappeared to. There he is. A couple primers here just to get started. We hear the term P25, but where did it come from? Its full name is APCO Project 25, and APCO is the Association of Public Safety Communications Officers. It's made up of people who are either dispatchers, managers, technicians, anybody who's in public safety communications can become part of APCO. The commission was set up at the request of Congress in 1988 to develop a standard for public safety digital communications. And the reason for that, at the time, the digital systems that were coming out from the various manufacturers were proprietary. So if you bought a Motorola system, you had to use Motorola radios. If it was E.F. Johnson, you had to use E.F. Johnson. Well, that doesn't help interoperability. That is the ability for every police fire to be able to communicate because they're on different systems with different manufacturers' radios. But it also prevents you from doing any type of competitive bidding. If you can only buy from one place, you hope they're giving you the best price, right? APCO, along with the various federal alphabets departments there, created P25 standard and various interfaces that they defined. The most important one was the common air interface because that basically defined how radios needed to communicate with each other and how they needed to communicate with the system. The other ones define, various things like console system, network management, data networks. We do run data over the system. Telephone interconnect, which nobody uses now. This was all created back in the late 80s when telephone interconnect was a thing, phone patches if you think about it. We don't do that anymore today. That's been taken away by the cellular systems. By the way, if you have any questions on any of these slides, please feel free to ask while we're on it and we can discuss it and take care of it for you. Okay, so I wanted to just talk a little bit about trunking versus conventional. So Marks is a trunking system. And the comparison I like to use is with a conventional radio. We think about our HTs. When we go to talk on a 2-meter or a 440 repeater, we're changing the channel. We're selecting what repeater we want to talk on, right? In a trunking system, that is all done automatically. The primary difference is that one of the repeaters is a dedicated control channel. It is transmitting and receiving data from the radios in the field. It's keeping and allowing it to the site controller to keep track of exactly what talk group each radio is active on so that it can properly manage the radio traffic. And then the remaining repeaters become essentially voice channels. Again, site controller's primary job, it tracks the activity of every radio all the time, 24/7, 365. When that radio affiliates with the site, the site controller knows exactly when that took place, what talk group it's on, and if it's moving to another site, it will also know that information as well. The zone controller allows multiple sites to be connected together. So for example, if I want to communicate with somebody that's affiliated with the Medina Mark site, and I'm in Summit County, and we're on the same talk group, that zone controller is what allows that to happen. It connects those two sites together so that we can communicate. We happen to reside in Mark's Zone 2, which essentially runs along Route 30, east and west. There are 4 zones in the Mark system, and again, we're Zone 2. All that a user is doing on their radio is essentially changing to a talk group. And a talk group is nothing more than a virtual channel. The system will assign the correct RF channel when that person goes to communicate. Wow. This changed a little bit, but we can make this work. In a Mark system, there are 2 types of sites. One is an Astro site repeater, or ASR. The other is simulcast. There's some text, unfortunately, that's missing. This got converted. Did this get converted to PDF or something? Okay.
They were PowerPoint slides. I just imported it into that presentation.
Okay.
Sometimes there's a little something that goes wrong between
Yeah.
Windows and
Okay.
yeah.
It went wonky. That's the technical term. Okay. Yes. Wonky's the technical term. Okay. Yeah, because there's some text up here that's not showing up here. But an ASR site basically is a standalone site. It has its own set of frequencies that it operates on. In the Mark system, the standard, the initial ASR site is what they refer to as a 6-pack. It has 6 channels assigned to it. 1 is the control channel. The other 5 are voice channels. So in this little configuration here of 3 ASR sites, there are essentially 18 frequencies being used to cover that area. In a simulcast system, every site uses the exact same frequencies. And we'll get a little further into that, but the advantage of a simulcast system is that you're improving coverage because all inbound traffic from a radio in the field is voted, and the best packets are then rebroadcast on the same frequency by all the sites that make up that simulcast system. So you're improving the coverage, and it's also spectrally efficient. All right, moving along. So Marks was originally launched, the first system was launched in 2000. And the motivation for Marks creating this statewide system was, I think it was in the early 90s, there was a riot at a penitentiary. And all the responding teams that were coming to that riot, they couldn't communicate. They were all on different radio systems. And so the state realized that there was a need to get a common system, at least for the state entities. And eventually, once they did that, it began to grow out to counties and cities to utilize. They did upgrade the system starting in 2013, and the reason for that was because Motorola ended support for the old Smart Zone system. Originally, they were going to end it in 2016. They extended it out to 2018, so that gave all of us a little bit more time to upgrade our systems to P25. Today, Marks has over 360 sites throughout the state of Ohio. Today, so the original system was completely owned by the state. Today, the system is comprised of state-owned assets and partner assets. And so what we have here are just a list of the partner networks that are part of, that make up the Marks system. Summit County is certainly one of those. So, sorry, just getting familiar with the slide here again. On the Summit County system, which is actually a partnership with the city of Akron, so it's the Summit County Akron 800 megahertz regional radio system, or what everyone refers to as skaters. That was originally established in 2005 when the city of Akron and Summit County both owned their own separate systems, joined those together, and it created a 5-site, 26-channel simulcast system. Starting in 2013, again, because Motorola was no longer supporting this old technology, We had to upgrade it, and we started that process beginning 2013. We completed it in 2018, and we did the connection to Marks in 2019. Every police, fire, and EMS department in Summit, oh, I thought there was a hand up. Every police, fire, and EMS department in Summit County is on this system, as well as some of the other users that we've got listed there. We have 9 dispatch centers that utilize the system. We have federal users. Cuyahoga Valley National Park, for example, used to operate a VHF system. We had better coverage, so they joined our system. The local Metro RTA bus, local hospitals, and we also have school emergency radios as well. Summit County itself has over 6,900 radios on the system. Actually, that's an old number now. When I looked this afternoon, we had 7,010 radios on our network that are owned by entities domiciled within Summit County. System performance last year, we had 100% uptime. We processed almost 12 million calls, close to 17 million push-to-talks, and over 48,000 hours of voice traffic just on that network in Summit County.
I have to ask,
Yeah.
the difference between calls and PTTs, is that for chunking?
Basically, because a call is defined from the very start of the call to when the repeater drops out, okay? And so yes, there could be multiple push-to-talks within those calls. We processed over 11,000 hours of data. The majority of that data traffic is us reprogramming user radios in the field, that are out in the field. Prior to having this feature, you had to physically touch every radio. That could be very difficult when you have over 7,000 radios on your system. So many of our radios now can be reprogrammed over the air. It's basically change the template, hit a button, let it go out, and eventually it will reprogram all the radios that need to be reprogrammed. Our sheriff has the Summit County Sheriff has close to 550 radios, and we have to make changes to those a little frequently, and so don't want to touch 550 radios. That's a lot of work. Last year, operating cost was over $765,000. We support the operation of the system through user fees. Every user on the system pays a fee of $20 per month per radio, and that's how we support it. It is not part of the general fund.
That doesn't include the cost of the radio, right?
No, that does not include the cost. Yes, they are. But because you can buy different brands of radios, you can competitively shop. Today on the system, we have Motorola product, we have Kenwood product, and most recently, we just added BK Technologies as another product that's on the system.
Would be equivalent or roughly equivalent?
BK right now, because it's only been on the system for a couple months now, that's being used by the park system. We don't have a long-term history with that. On the Kenwoods, yes, absolutely. Motorola, for sure. But BK has been in business a long time, and they're a fan favorite of the fire service that takes care of woodland fires. So when you see those guys out in California putting out all those fires, they are probably carrying BK radios. Just a little bit of history about our P25 project. I started with the county in June of 2010, and it was just a few weeks into the job that Motorola came to me and said, oh, by the way, Mike, your radio system's not going to be supported after 2016. Boy, I thought, man, I made a bad decision here. But we stomped our feet a lot, so did the state, and so did other users of this type of equipment throughout the country. Motorola graciously said, well, okay, well, we'll give you to the end of 2018, and that's what's kind of kicked off our project. We built our project over the course of several years, and we did some smaller projects along the way. We had two communities that were operating older analog 800 trunk systems, and utilizing assistance to firefighter grants, we upgraded those two systems to P25 as standalone ASR sites. They weren't connected to the county network, but they improved coverage in that area, and those users would operate on that or operate on the county system depending on who they needed to communicate with at that time. So that was the Bath Copley Fairlawn site, or Bath Copley Fairlawn was using one in Fairlawn. That got upgraded to P25. We got another Assistance to Firefighter grant. We replaced Barberton's analog system, and there was enough money left over in that project that we stood up a third 700 meg P25 ASR site in Clinton, which is in the southwest corner of the county, because they really had some serious coverage issues that we needed to take care of, and we fixed that with that site. Ultimately, these were all tied together in 2015. Motorola was kind enough to loan us a master site, and we purchased a device that was called a SmartX, but it was referred to as a SmartX box. But what it did at the time is it tied in those 3 P25 sites into our existing county system and allowed those people to communicate. So it didn't matter if they were on the same talk group, it didn't matter if they were on one of the P25 sites or the older county system, they were still able to communicate. We signed the final contract with Motorola for the upgrade at the end of 2015, and then went right into the process in 2016 of replacing equipment. It was done in a fashion that allowed the old system to stay functional while the new system was being constructed, so that when it was all said and done, we could move over everybody at one time to the new system. Let's see. So this is the layout of our this is the layout of the Summit County simulcast. So we have 10 sites throughout the county. We definitely needed, originally it was 5. We added 5 more, mostly on the west side of the county, to improve coverage. Our Spring Hill site, which is on the west side of Akron, that is our prime site. The prime site is the most critical site in the system because that's where the intelligence to operate the system resides. It was so critical that we wanted 2 of them. So we built the Longstone prime site as well, which is on the east side of Akron. Excuse me. The 2 of them are in communications all the time. So if the Spring Hill prime site should ever fail, the Longstone site will pick up the handling of the traffic. This way we've got 2 levels of redundancy, and technically 3, and I'll show you that in a minute. The dotted lines represent our microwave network to connect all these sites together. So we have 2 rings, a north ring and a south ring, and they kind of all come together at the 2 prime sites. And then the this little, I don't know, does this button work? Hold on. Where's the, okay, the pointer's not working, or I'm not working, but these 2 lines here represent fiber connections to the Zone 2 controller, which is located in the EOC in Lake County. And their EOC happens to be underground because of the Perry nuclear plant. So it's a great place to have a zone controller. So we have AT&T fiber leaving the 1 prime site and Spectrum fiber leading to the other site. So that gives us both carrier and path redundancy to the zone controller.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Is the fiber dedicated?
Yes.
So no internet backbone?
The internet does not touch the system. It's very clear. Yeah. No, they are dedicated fiber runs. So when the system was ready to be delivered to us, the process was to go out to Schaumburg, Illinois, and do acceptance testing. And in this building here in Schaumburg, they had multiple systems set up and fully functional. And in this case, all 10 of our sites are racked up, fully functional, and connected back to the existing system in Summit County. So we were able to communicate from Schaumburg, Illinois, back to Akron during this testing process. This was a really cool facility. I'd never been there before, and we would walk in and we'd see an area about half the size of this room empty, and by the end of the day, new systems were racked up and ready to be accepted by their customer. And once the acceptance is done, they box them up, they put them on a truck, and they ship them out for installation. Unfortunately, this facility no longer exists. They moved us out to Elgin, but it was really neat to see this. And the Motorola had a beautiful museum out here in Schaumburg as well. Unfortunately, they boxed that up, and I don't know if they've ever put that back up, but it's kind of neat walking through their museum going, I've worked on that, I've worked on that, I've worked on that. All right. This is actually what is at our Spring Hill master site. So the 3 racks on the left are the actual repeaters at the bottom. At the very top of those racks are transmit combiners. Every site has 3 transmit antennas and then 2 receive antennas. In the second from the left rack, you'll see those 2 gray boxes. Those are receive amplifiers and distribution units that take the signals from the 2 receive antennas and distribute them out to the repeaters. On the, well, I guess we'll call this the right rack here, but this particular rack here, these are, the top 2 units are site controllers. At Spring Hill, there are actually 2 site controllers, so if the first one fails, the second one picks up. If the second one should ever fail, then the Longstone prime site picks up the traffic. The remaining units are all comparators or voters. They are what are processing all the inbound radio traffic. They're determining based on the bit error rate what is the best packet that needs to be rebroadcast out, and from there they send it out to all the repeaters to be released. And then the final rack on the right here, the 2 silver devices at the top. Frequency stability in a simulcast system is critical. The frequency that is being used, because all the, if we're on channel 1, all 10 channels or all 10 sites are coming up on channel 1 to rebroadcast that information. If you've probably heard on the radio when 2 people key up, you hear terrible squeal and all kinds of racket, right? That's because they are not, even though it might say 146.52 on the display, not every radio is right on frequency. We're always off a few kilocycles, or maybe not even a kilocycle, but either way. So a frequency standard is necessary to ensure that the repeaters are transmitting on the right frequency correctly. And so that is a GPS locked time system. It has a built-in oscillator that is locked to the GPS signal. And we have 2 GPS antennas at every site and 2 GPS receivers for redundancy. If for some reason we lose GPS signal, not likely to happen, but it could obviously. And we're always thinking about worst case scenarios. So if the GPS side of the time sequence or system doesn't work, it falls back to a rubidium oscillator, which is essentially an atomic clock for the most part. And if that rubidium oscillator fails, then it goes to a temperature compensated oscillator. So we have 3 levels of redundancy just in the timing system. That's how critical timing is. What that device ultimately does is it generates a reference frequency for each transmitter, and from there then it's multiplied to the correct frequency to broadcast out.
Is there one of them at each site or only at the master site?
Every site. Every site has a time
I think
to.
it would have to be
Yep,
that.
yep. Every device has a track. This is what you see at the what we call the sub-sites. So Spring Hill, Longstone have what I showed you on the first slide, that previous slide. The other sites, they're essentially, they do not have the comparators or the voting system, but they still have the time, the GPS system, and they basically have the repeaters, combiners, and the receive multi-couplers. So a little bit less equipment at the remaining 8 sites. This is a picture from one of the sites after it was installed, and I included that because all of our equipment is operated off of a negative 48 volt battery system. And of the 2 devices in the racks that require AC, we have an inverter to bring that 48 volts up to 120 volts AC. But we went with 48 volt because typically we've had problems in the past with UPSs. And so we wanted to create as much redundancy as possible. So at the very top of that right rack is the LTEC rectifiers, which are obviously rectifying the AC coming into the building. We run on 240, and they're creating 48 volts, which is operating all the equipment as well as charging the batteries. Should we lose power, we have a backup generator at every site. But if that generator should fail for some reason, the batteries will run the system for about 8 hours at that site. And that gives us time to scramble and figure out why the power's out or why the generator has failed. Fortunately, we've only had one site that's ever really given us a hard time with power, and that situation seems to have been rectified by First Energy now. But we are capable of running on battery for a minimum of 8 hours at each site.
How many kilowatts does each site run?
How many what?
How many kilowatts does each site run?
You know, it would about 4 kW per site. Yeah. Varies a little bit with what type of air conditioner too we have at the sites, because I kind of include the air conditioning function in there. Heat is our enemy, so we have dual air conditioners at most of the sites. We do have 2 that have single air conditioners, but we do utilize dual where possible, keep everything nice and cool. So what do we do to keep this network functional? First of all, the system is monitored 24/365 by Motorola in Elgin right now. So they're monitoring the system. We're monitoring it locally during the day. Plus, we have alarm systems set up to tell us when certain events take place at any time of the day, and then we'll get an email or text message. So if somebody opens the door to a shelter, we know about it within a few seconds. If we lose commercial power, we know about it in a few seconds. So we pretty much we know what's happening at each site, even when we're not in the office, and that's extremely beneficial. The entire MARC system gets updated every 2 years. We just finished that update last week. Basically, they'll go in, they'll update firmware, software, and any of the devices that need to be updated on the network. Locally, we do quarterly HVAC PMs. Again, air conditioning is so critical for us around the clock, even in the middle of winter, AC is critical. So we are doing quarterly HVAC PMs. We do biannual PMs on all of our generators. Every generator is tested weekly under load to make sure that not only the engine starts, the alternator's working, the transfer switch is functioning, and so we test them every week under load. And then we're doing monthly site inspections as well. We're visiting each site. This is part of our monitoring system that we have at our office. It basically, I always like to see it green, but we have an orange dot there, a couple orange dots. When I did this snapshot, the door at our stow site was open, and that's telling me we have an alarm condition, and I can drill down on that to see what the condition was. Our stow site was located on a water tank at Stowe, and it worked out wonderfully. But they came to us and said, you need to get off our water tank, so we're going to build you a 190-foot tower. And that's why that door was open, because the construction crew was in there. And in fact, we just moved all the equipment off the water tank to the new tower on Monday. So the site was down for about a day while that work was being done. And now everything is kind of back to normal. And when I left this afternoon, everything was green, which is what I like to see. I mentioned earlier we do monthly site visits. You know, we're there to look at everything at the site. We collect 49 data points at every site when we're there. I mean, it's from the basics of, is the gate locks working correctly? Is the site clean? Is there any debris? Does it look like somebody tried to breach the site? We're checking generator status, oil, battery levels. We're also checking the battery levels of all the backup batteries, as well as the temperatures of the batteries as well. We check the temperature because if you start to see a major difference on a battery, one battery might be 3-4 degrees higher than all the others. It's kind of an indication that battery's on the way out and that you need to prepare for eventually replacing it. So basically every month we collect 490 data points from each site. I have a coworker, so we try to split the work up. He tries to cover the southern sites, I try to cover the northern. Sometimes one of us has to do all 10, so we do a lot of traveling through the county, but we do this every single month to make sure. And then of course all of this goes into a database so that we can kind of graph out what is happening with the sites. Some future updates coming out. Well, we just finished the system update, so you can see I put this together before we finished it. Radio authentication is the big one that we're working on right now. The state in 2019 mandated that every radio on the system had to have radio authentication. Radio authentication is essentially two-factor authentication. Today, when a radio turns on, it sends its unique 7-digit ID to the site, and if that ID is in the database as a valid ID, then that radio is allowed to access the site and use the system. Unfortunately, some unscrupulous people over time have learned that they can duplicate those IDs and access the site, unauthorized access to the system. Some people have actually gone to jail because of that, due to an incident that took place in Stark County a few years ago. So the state came out and said, well, you have to add radio authentication. The deadline to get that done is July 1st. In the county, about 91% of our radios are authenticated, and I've got customers scrambling so that hopefully they get them all done by 7/1. Across the state, I hear numbers as high as 40,000 radios are not done, so I don't know if the state's going to hold to this date. We'll see. Motorola's announced that some of the equipment that we have, which is now just 10 years old, is going to be coming out of end of life and no longer supported. And so we need to start planning for some replacements. Our prime sites, which utilize that one rack of all comparators, that's going to be the first one. All those comparators are going to be replaced with a server. And that is the way, basically, the whole technology in radio is going, is basically server-based. And we see it even in our hobby with our SDRs and SDR-based radios. So it's just the technology is changing. It changes rapidly. And so we just got to keep up with it, right? So virtual prime. The dispatch consoles, I don't have any pictures of those, but most of the centers in the county utilize MCC 7500 consoles by Motorola. These are network consoles. They access the system through a network connection versus a wireless console, which would use radios to access it. Because they're networked, they have a lot of capability, and they can do more than what a wireless console can do. Unfortunately, they are coming up to an end of life as well, so we'll be looking at replacing those before the end of 2030. Basically, the new consoles look and act pretty much the same as the old ones, but again, the technology has changed. Basically, it's a PC and what we call a VPM today, which is a voice processing module. The PC remains. The voice processing module is being replaced with what Motorola calls the hub. They ended up doing pretty much the same thing, but it's handled differently. And the GUI's changed a little bit on the new console. So we'll be looking forward to doing that before the end of 2030. And then Motorola's also told us by the end of 32, we have to replace all of our repeaters. That's a big lift. For me, that's 250 repeaters in my system, but statewide, that's in the thousands. And so that is looking like a really costly project that we all have to start planning for. So that was kind of a disappointment to hear that the GTRs are no longer going to be supported. And it's not a simple take one out, put another one in place, because they've changed the design of the repeaters entirely to where now 4 repeaters are combined into a single box. So it's not a complete rip out, but it's also not a quick change out either. So we're still waiting for the quotes on that from Motorola. I think they're like waiting to, I don't know what, but they know that I'm going to probably freak out when I see the price. But I have no control over that. So that's kind of where we're heading now. Those are what we're going to see in the future here for all of the state of Ohio. And all right, so that's that piece on the MARC system. I'm going to move on. If there's any questions about what I've just addressed, yes, sir.
I got a couple. There's a lot of devices that have to talk to each other. What's the latency across the system?
Milliseconds. And I don't know the exact number. I wish I did, but it's everything is essentially real time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then for communication outside the system.
Mm-hmm.
So say somebody outside of Summit County, how does that come in?
So in that scenario, is that person also on MARCs?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So for us, what we did, in Summit County, we have basically 2 sets of talk groups that are common in every radio that are Summit County related. One is our MAC talk groups, mutual aid talk groups. Those have been around for a long time. In the past, they were always used by just mostly fire departments as a common way to communicate with anybody coming in to provide mutual aid. We extended those out to our neighboring counties. We said, if you want to add MAC to your radios, you're welcome to do that, because Mutual aid crosses county borders every day. So we've got people, I know folks from Medina Fire come into Summit goes to Medina County. We see the same thing on the east side between Portage and Summit, and of course Summit and Stark County. So there's a lot of interoperability, mutual aid that takes place. So we've extended that offer. In addition to that, the state has a set of interoperable talk groups that every radio in the state has. For example, one is LEComms, which a lot of people think that means law enforcement, but LEComms is actually local emergency communications. So if you're going to communicate with somebody that doesn't happen to have county talk groups, guaranteed they have LEComms, pick an LEComms, you switch to LEComms and you can communicate.
So that radio comes into the area that's covered by the repeaters. It has the talk group, it can be validated through whatever security.
Right, yes. Anything else on that? Okay. So in 2013, a project that Summit County's been working on for probably a good 10 years was to create a regional dispatch center in Summit County. We went live in October of 2023, and I'll show you. We got a list of who we're dispatching for, but excuse me one second. I'm going to lose my voice here in a second. The facility is located in Talmadge, Ohio. And basically, I just kind of put up what our staffing is. But right now, we have 44 full-time telecommunicators or dispatchers. It operates in a call taker dispatchers arrangement. So you have people who are dedicated to answering the phones, and the other people that are actually dispatching or talking to field units, and then 8 part-time telecommunicators. So last year, this facility processed almost 65,000 911 calls in their first year of operation. But they processed almost 265,000 non-emergent calls. That is people calling in to ask when the fireworks show will start, when are you going to plow my road, when is the park open, when is the park closed. Starting later this year, those non-emergent calls are going to be answered by an AI system. And it's Aurelian is the name of the system, and it is being trained to how to respond to these calls. What was kind of neat in the demo is that it's very, I know we all have a little fear about AI, but it can tell if the user, if it is anxious or if it sounds like it's an emergency situation just by the way they're answering questions. It will automatically transfer that call to a human being to handle. But if it can help offload some of the basic stuff like when does the park close or questions of that nature, or how do I get a hold of my service department, it will handle that call routing automatically. And so that'll help take a load off of the people doing the call taking so that they can focus on answering the 911 calls, which are obviously the most important calls. And today, a 911 call in the center is answered in less than 6 seconds, which is well below the state standard. These are the communities that are currently serviced right now by that center. I should also point out that the center actually houses 2 different PSAPs. One is a Council of Governments, the COG, the SECC, and then the other is the City of Akron. They moved theirs from downtown Akron to Talmadge. Akron specifically addresses just calls coming in from Akron, while the SEC supports the communities that are on this list here today. And most recent, we just added Coventry Fire. I think they've been on now about a month and a half, and we expect that it will grow. Just like the cost of the technology for the radio system is constantly increasing, the cost of the technology to run a dispatch center is increasing. And so it starts to make sense to look at consolidating dispatch. Nobody lost the job when we combined these existing centers together. Everybody still had their job because that's always a big fear. You know, if we consolidate, we're going to lose jobs. Nope, everyone still has their job. We just run more efficiently, and we're using common equipment that instead of everybody going out and spend hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on equipment, now we're just putting that equipment in one spot instead of multiple spots. And in the end, that should save the taxpayers money. There we go. So this is just a couple of photos that were taken before the center opened up. They really did not want a lot of pictures taken and released to the public, so we were kind of limited on what we could take. You might notice that guy in the lower right corner there. Because we have a relation, because the Summit County EMA has a relationship with Aries, we set up some new equipment for them, and that's going to, I'll show you that in just a second, but Ken was doing a little demonstration for his team at the center because our EOC is also at that facility now as well, where it used to be in the basement of an Akron building. So now we've got two PSAPs and the EOC under one roof, and that's just going to add to the efficiency of it. So this, So this is what we set up for Aries. Ken helped out tremendously on this because when we talked about doing this, I said, Ken, what do we need to buy? And he gave me a laundry list of things that he wanted. And we were very fortunate to, he bought some good stuff. No, he really did. So for HF, they got a ICOM 7610, really nice radio. I want one so bad, I just can't afford it. And an ICOM 9700 for UHF and VHF. Antenna-wise, and you'll see the tower that we built for Aries here in a moment, but we have a DXE 8040 Nivis antenna on the property, along with a Penta 10 5-band Yagi on a 50-foot tower. I originally wanted to use an Opti beam because I have one at home and love it, but unfortunately they weren't in stock, and so we had to switch to a similar antenna but a different company. And then just a Comet GP15 for 2 meters, 70 centimeters, and 6 meters. Everything that all of this equipment is housed in a shelter, and the radios are operated over a network using ICOM's remote control software, and they do a fabulous job. I think they did a real good job writing that software. It's very easy to use and control those radios, and nobody can even tell you're on a network. So it's a really slick system. So on the left is the rack of equipment. You can see the 7610 on the bottom, the 9700, and then we also have an Arco rotator. This is also a nice box. Not only is it touchscreen operation if you're in front of it, but it's also networkable as well. So everything can be controlled from a computer. And then that 50-foot tower that we put together for them, that's a Roan tilt over. Makes servicing the antennas fairly easy because it just kind of cranks over on its side. And then that 180-foot monopole to the left of it, we built that for microwave. Those antennas at the very top of it connect our MCC 7500 consoles that are used by the COG or Akron. Those are all connected to our 2 master sites via the 2 microwave links that come from the center. And it's kind of like a little diagram of how everything is connected. The shelter is electrically isolated from the primary building. So we only have fiber going to between the two, and we electrically isolate the building or the shelter through a isolation transformer as well. And the reason for that is if either one of these towers takes a lightning hit, we didn't want to see that surge coming back into the main building. So everything is isolated. So basically we've got a couple of fiber to Ethernet adapters that basically are just converting to get the fiber, get across that fiber into the shelter, and they get converted back into Ethernet where it connects to all the devices then. And the little Pi there acts as a antenna switch control for us, and that was put together, or at least the software was put together with from one of the club members at PCARS. Because I can connect a Pi, but I can't write software. That is not my gig. But this is what they will see when they fire up their laptop. On the left is the Arco remote or Arco rotator controller. Basically, you're just VNCing into the rotator controller. You can click anywhere on the map and it will start turning the antenna for you. The lower left hand is the antenna switch control. All they got to do, if they want to utilize the 6-meter function on the common antenna, just got to turn on switch number 1, and that'll flip the 6-meter antenna, or it'll flip that over to the HF radio for 6 meters. And then this is the HF radio that's fired up right now. One of the nice things about the 7610, and I had no familiarity with this radio until we got this, but I've really kind of dug into it. You can pre-program what antenna to use based on what band you're on, and that is really slick because it takes a lot of load off the operator. So basically, as they change bands, they don't have to worry about changing antenna selection. It's done automatically by the radio, and that just makes it a little bit easier for them to use. So Ken can talk more about this, but he's loaded it up on all the laptops that the Aries guys uses. They had the demonstration, and I assume at some point Ken and the team will come back and do a little more practice on it and get familiar with the operation of everything. I use the 9700 every Tuesday at noon because we have a little net that I get on, and that's my way of testing to make sure everything is working, and it's just a phenomenal system all the way around. A little better than what you had before, Ken?
Slightly.
So, slightly, yeah. I think it was a big improvement. Ken, I can blame him for this or thank him for this. I'm not sure where to go. Ken has got me hooked up with Shares, so that's going to be our next step. Shares is a federal program for federal HF. It uses NTIA-controlled federal frequencies, and it's tied in with FEMA. We still need to do a mod to the radio yet to open up the radio, kind of like the Mars mod, but you got to open it up to get to the Shares frequencies. Haven't done that yet, but the advantage of Shares for us is right now only amateur radio operators can use this radio. But once we're on a Shares frequency, any employee of the EMA, once trained, can use these radios to communicate on those federal frequencies. And that's what Shares was designed to do. And so we're going to eventually get that radio opened up and train a few people in EMA. Just in case the Aries guys can't deploy or I can't help them out, at least somebody could go in there, fire it up, and get on a Shares net if they need to. And Shares nets are typically only used when there's a major disaster. Yes, sir.
The other nice thing about Shares too is we don't have to follow amateur radio guidelines. So we
Right.
can actually do encrypted data transmission on the Shares frequency. So if we want to send WinLink messages encrypted, we can do that on Shares.
Right.
We can't do that obviously on the amateur radio
amateur,
side.
absolutely. So, and they can do WinLink or pretty much any digital mode, so we've tested that. So, yep, Aries guys have a good setup, and we certainly hope that they take advantage of it from a training standpoint. Yes, sir.
Are the frequencies close enough that you can use the antennas easily, or?
I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I think so, because like on 20 meters, I think it's what, like I want to say it's higher than 350, like close to 360, 370 is the 20 meter.
So it's close.
It's close enough. I'm a little,
If you can use a tuner.
yeah, and yeah, hopefully the internal tuner can handle that. Otherwise, we're going to be buying an external tuner. But yeah, once we get the modification done to the ICOM, I have still building up the courage to take those two tiny little diodes out that are basically specs on a board. But once we get that taken care of and we get it opened up, and then we can test those antennas. What's that?
What could go wrong?
Do it.
What could go wrong?
It's been done by people in the room.
I've done it.
Have you?
Everybody's done it.
Come on over. Pretty tiny. They're very small from what I understand. They're like a speck.
Surface mount, yes.
Yeah.
I think 2 years ago I did a soldering
The way you're
thing
spending
at
money,
field
get a
day.
set of hot tweezers, then it'll be a piece of cake.
Yeah.
That might actually be easier, you know, because I don't have any SMD tools, but I'm sure we get it done. But I, just haven't taken that plunge yet. And what could go wrong? I don't know. Smoke a $4,000 radio. That.
No, you won't.
And then explain that to your boss, right? No, we'll get it done. But I'm glad that we're getting involved with Shares, and I think it's definitely going to be an advantage for Ken's group as well because of the encryption. And we're preparing for something that we hopefully never have to use. That's the thing. And of course, that's pretty standard in public safety. You know, you're always constantly thinking about what's the worst thing that's going to happen, and that's what we kind of plan for.
I know shares was used a lot in Puerto Rico, but people went down there 4 years ago.
They were. I agree. I understand that. And I think there's weekly shares in that too. Just check in nets just to make sure everything's working correctly. I still have a lot to learn about shares.
We're setting up on Ohio Shares Net too. So
Are you?
We'll be doing Ohio Shares.
Awesome. Good. Yeah, he's got me hooked into Odin Network now and things I wasn't doing. But it's good. It's all good. It's good that we as amateurs can support public safety when necessary, and we have that. We have the equipment. We have the ability. We have the training. I think that's a great advantage for everybody. Trying to think. That's kind of it. Anything else I can answer question-wise?
Mike, I was just wondering, other than shares, is there any other collaboration going on with Homeland Security?
Well, yes, at various levels there are, not in my side of the house, but, you know, our EMA is, you know, works with Homeland Security. Summit County, because it's one of the larger counties in Region 5, provides a lot of training programs for others in Region 5. So, you know, Phelan, who works in that side of the house, she'll do police trainings. Primarily, she focuses on police trainings. She'll have people from the FBI come in to do trainings, and if necessary, FEMA can come in. We don't know where FEMA's going right now. There's a lot of things happening in DC and talk about getting rid of FEMA, which I don't understand the reason for that, but you know, we gotta wait till things kind of shake out to see where we're going from there. So, yes, sir.
I wanted to ask a question. I think I already know the answer, but just I know there's a lot of people that are asking. When you mentioned radio authentication on the MARC system, a lot of people think that they're not going to be able to use their scanners anymore and stuff to listen. There's a large community that does that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they think that they're going to not be able to do that. It's not encryption. It's
No.
just on the radio side.
No, it's not encryption. No, scanners will work just fine. No, I see that stuff on Radio Reference. I sneak around there all the time.
Yeah.
No, there's good information on there, and also occasionally some crazy rumors get started up, and I'll get in there to try to squelch those rumors and straighten out what's going on. Now, radio authentication. What happens with radio authentication is basically, you know, when my radio sends that 7-digit ID to the network. The network basically is just querying the radio to send an encrypted key back. So that part of it is encrypted, but that does not change the balance of what's on there. There are encrypted talk groups on the system. You know, the City of Akron Fire and Police are fully encrypted. Summit County Sheriff's encrypted. But if the transmission's in the clear, you'll still be able to monitor it on a scanner or SDR or anything else that's going on. No, actually, it's nice to have a relationship with. I've a relationship with several people who are scanner buffs on Radio Reference, and actually they've been very helpful. A few times they've kind of alerted me and said, "Hey, Mike, there's some weird stuff going on you might want to listen to," and it's actually been a pretty helpful relationship. Anything else? You guys have been an easy crowd, you really have. Well, again, thank you for having me. I'm glad I could be here. If anything pops up, feel free to email me. My email address is n8wcp.us@gmail.com. You can look me up on QRZ. I'm in there. So, all right, thank you.
Fabulous. Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate it. It was great.
I'm going to stick around for a few minutes and then take off.
All right,
Thank you
that's
for having
fine.
me.
Absolutely. All right, yeah, great presentation tonight. Mike, thank you for being here. Doug, thank you for making this happen. We do appreciate that as well. Just a super. You didn't let us down. So the preliminary reviews, well-founded.
So
So
all that sweat while I'm driving down here for nothing.
nah, no sweat, and no need to sweat. All right, let's see. Oh, yes. Time for a break. 5 minutes and we're going to get started again. 5 minutes. Take your potty break. It'll be fun. It's always fun. It's always a pain in the butt to get there, and you know, but once you're there, it's wonderful. Scott, you're laughing.
You're live.
Okay.
Get on the bus and you sit down. And
All right, here we go with announcements. Okay, this is definitely first time I think we've said this.
Yeah.
Dues are due. The roster adjustments start actually happens at the end of June. You know, we're going to give you a courtesy call. I'm assuming though that if you haven't paid your due, I mean by June you would think that your yearly dues, you know, that you would think that they would be due. But anyway, that happens at the end of June. Please pay your dues. The dues, that's how we fund the club. So that's how that works. All right, I want to, we do have a need for NCOs and NCO backups. Okay, and this is, I know we have a limited number of people here tonight because of Hamvention and stuff, but I do have a question. Not considering any of the ancillary issues with being a net control operator, that meaning time and whether you think you can do it or not, or any of those other ancillary reasons that you say, no, I'm not going to do that. How many people really would like to maybe give it a shot to be a net control operator? I'm curious. Anybody?
I'd like to try it once.
There's one. Well, here's the point. Here's the point of me asking that question. I would really like to, maybe we need to provide some kind of training. I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but it's not the most impossible thing to do either. Tell me about it.
That's why I didn't put my hand up.
Tell me about it. Well, but that's not the only net we have.
I know.
You know, so I know I talk about Ron, KC8 CVS. Wow. Can't hardly not remember that. But, you know, Ron truly was the Iron Man. He did the barometer net every day. He did the Tuesday night net every Tuesday night. And he did that for years, mind you. So we really could use a few backups. We could use some people who, you know, just, and maybe we need to, Doug, learning committee maybe, we can put something together in terms of some training. And there's nothing wrong with training, but I got to tell you, you just kind of got to jump in. It's almost like swimming. You know, you can practice in your living room how to swim and do the, you know, the American crawl, the side stroke, you know, all those strokes and stuff. You can do all that in your living room, but until you jump in the water, you're not going to swim, right? Okay, so that's my spiel. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to add, I have had my license for about 2 years. I started studying after she was born. The beacon net was so fun, I kind of thought I could do it. And then Nick sent me the script and said, you're doing it Wednesday. And I said, oh, okay. So.
You got a script?
Well, that verb didn't change his call sign. So I read his call sign, clearly not him, for my first net. So that was a great start. But it really proved to me that you can mess up so many times as a new ham, a new NCO, and people are so nice in general. And yeah, honestly, yeah. So I definitely recommend trying out a pre-show. We have a pre-show. Talking to Mr. Ray for the boredom breaker. He's always in need of NCOs. And giving it a shot on a day that you know you can do. If you're not comfortable logging, Josh logs for me. You can find someone to log or teach you to log. Again, learning committee, that's what it's for. But honestly, if you're thinking about it, you'll only keep thinking about it unless you tell someone, put me on that day and I'll be there. And then you'll be scared for that whole week or whatever, and then it'll be over with and you'll have so much fun, it's worth it. So do jump in, I highly recommend it.
It's worth it.
Well said. Well said. Okay.
I'll add something here, Gary.
Yeah, sure.
If you've ever sat at home in front of your radio and played along, if you will, and said, well, I would say this at that time, or I would have said that, or you didn't hear that call, or you didn't hear this, then you probably want to play NCO.
It's real easy to catch on because you know who's going to ramble on and time out the repeater, so you know when you can go to the bathroom.
That's what you can go get food.
Oh, Phil. Okay, anyway, we really could use some people. I know people are really, really tired of hearing me in the morning. I've been doing, Fred's out on vacation for 3 weeks, and I did the last 2 weeks, and yeah, Nick's going to pick up next week, Tuesday through Friday. Phil and Stefan do the Saturday stint, and Dave, NT8D does the Monday. Where's Dave? Oh, there you are. Does the Monday thing. And I mean, it's a team now. And when I say team, I mean we're a team. And we cover for each other. But the thing is, the team is kind of limited. So we need to expand our team. We need a couple of people to step up. And I know Fred has 2 days. I'm pretty sure he would be more than happy to give up one of them. I certainly would be more than happy to sleep in on another morning. Because as I've said many, many times, it truly is. And I'm talking about 7 a.m. And for the uninitiated, that's in the morning. It's an ungodly hour.
I'm ready for lunch.
All right, anyway, that's enough of that. Please consider it. Talk to anybody, any NCO. You can talk to me, you can talk to Nick. Dave, you can talk to Fred when he gets back. Anybody. Jason, talk to Josh. Who else?
Chuck wanted to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chuck.
One suggestion that comes to mind.
Okay, roll loud, Chuck. I can hardly hear you.
It would be quite helpful for somebody who wants to start out as a new NCO, maybe spend a session or two sitting with an NCO when he's actually running a net, to see exactly how you handle a logging, what the scripts are you use, all that good stuff.
Okay, if you think that would work. I mean, you can hear what goes on in the mornings. I mean, you're hearing exactly what well, you might not be. Okay, but.
No, but I'm not seeing what you're doing, and that's an important part of the job.
Well, I'm writing stuff down on a piece of paper is what I'm doing. I know there's other folks that do the net logger thing. I just I can't do it. I can't do it by myself anyway. And we tried it one time. And
Yeah. So, NetLogger is a great tool, but it's not a necessity, okay? So, Bob was just asking me about, well, I can't use NetLogger, so I can't do a net. No, that's fine.
I don't use
You need to
NetLogger.
use it, okay? We use it on the Beacon Net because that's how we set it up, all right? I log, Dustin or whoever else is doing the things, we're 50, 60 miles apart, so this is how we combine and work things together. For the Border Breaker Net, they use it because I'm in Ohio, they're in Oklahoma, same thing. So that's how we communicate with each other. When I run a net by myself, I use NetLogger because I can't use my own I can't read my own writing. So that's why I use it, but it's not a necessity. So that you shouldn't consider that a reason to not use it or not be an NCO. But one of the things I've done for the club nets, when we have guests on club net, is I will log for them, and all they kind of have to do is read along with NetLogger and do the thing, do the talking. And yeah, it makes it a little bit easier to do the talking if you don't have to do the logging, right? And vice versa. You guys can tell when I'm logging and doing the talking myself because there's big
extensive pauses sometimes if you're wondering what the hell's going on. And that's me trying to type stuff in and get myself organized. So, if you want to pick up the club net and see how you like it, I volunteer to do the net logging.
Dave.
I gotta add one thing on this on behalf of a very good friend and silent key, Jimmy N8SGP.
Oh, yeah.
I got started as a net control operator because I got back into the hobby when I would be getting up, going to work in the morning, and Ron was running the barometer nets, and it would be this long round table that would go on. And he'd go through the list, and we got to the bottom of the list. If there was nobody there, he'd go back up to the top of the list. And we just keep on going around, and then you check out of the net, and then you stop calling your call. And every now and then, Ron just wasn't there. He's getting up there, and just every now and then on a Tuesday or a Friday or something, there was no Ron. And so I just jumped in and started running the net, and so did Jimmy, N8SGP. Now Jimmy was blind. He had some very serious health issues. And so he ran the barometer net blind, literally. No net logger. He's
good.
not writing stuff down on a piece of paper because he couldn't read it anyways. So what he just did was when you checked in, he gave you a number.
He did the numbers.
When he got down to the bottom of his number list, which he could kind of keep in his head, he'd go back up to the top of the list. All right, bottom of the number. Then we have a 30, no 30. Okay, let's go back to number one. Number one, you there. Number two, he go back to three. And he just kept track of everybody by number. And the net ran just fine. It's not an official, hard, you gotta do it right kind of thing, because there is no right way to do a net necessarily. So if you don't think you got the wherewithal to do it, just remember that a literally blind guy would do it when he had to do it, and he just did it off the top of his head, and you could do it. It's not that hard. You don't have to write stuff down if you can't. There's just have fun with it.
Right,
Well,
thanks, Dave.
40 an hour, though.
We can get up into the 30s.
Yeah, Jimmy was great. Jimmy, I do miss him. Do miss Jimmy. Yeah, did it by the numbers. Just assigned you a number. Oh yeah. Oh, okay, number 3. Okay, that's enough for that. VE testing session. Stefan, you have anything to say about that?
No, just the same location, and then we're going to talk about some other stuff once we do our committee thing.
Okay, very good. All right, Jason's not here, but he sent this email out to everybody in the club. If you're going to be down at Dayton, this was the Hamvention talk frequency that Jason came up with. Programming information on the screen, and actually, oh yeah. Excuse me 1 second. Hi, Beth. Hey, sweetheart.
Hey, Ben!
Do you hear that?
We love you.
I'm in the middle of the meeting. And,
You're live on YouTube.
Everybody says hi.
This is what he wanted me to share. He's not going to make the meeting. Here's the talking points. Installed the upgraded network equipment at Doylestown. That's a win. The new cloud file and meeting service is online. So those of us who've had operations meetings or other meetings, that seems to be working better. He did up it, Josh, so we had 7 or 8 people. Yeah, you were there too. The 12 meter and 17 meter filters have arrived and are packed up and ready for POTA. Did you get them already? Not yet. Okay. And Flex Weave is ordered for the fan dipoles for field day, and I will talk about that when we get to field day. And hopefully that gives Gary a chance to get back. All right.
Okay, so Josh.
Yo. What?
Lucy. No, I'm addressing both of you, Josh and Lucy. This was on my phone. This was my 40-year-old. Now, my problem, what I did was I blinked. Moments ago, Beth was that age.
That's what I said earlier.
I blinked. And now she's 40. So enjoy. All right. Okay, we're covered with Jason's thing? Okay, very good. So if you're down there.
I talked about the tech committee stuff that he sent.
Okay.
And you should finish talking about the frequency there.
Oh, it just, so the thing is, we're going to use 440, this frequency. Okay, that came in an email. Jot it down, please, if you don't have it. You want to turn off the auto offset. You don't want to be transmitting off frequency. And DCS is used in place of CTCSS for better performance because, believe it or not, down in Dayton, there's a lot of RF going on down there. Yeah.
I think, Gary, I want to say about this because I've encountered this. 446-7375, chances are your little handy-talkie isn't set up to get to that frequency. You're going to have to get into the menu, find out how to change the steps of the frequencies so that you can get to that particular one.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot enter it digitally. Just a thought.
Yeah, so don't try to do it before you get down there. Try to do it before you get down there. All right, any questions on that? No. All right, those are those announcements. Now, Bill, N8LTR, sent this to me. Yeah, so he's roughing it in Xenia. Notice here he's checking out the weather. So I'm not exactly sure what the latest weather is down there. But anyway, Bill was on top of that. Nice rig. Everything is looking pretty good here. However, there's a real problem here, and I detected it. Anybody else detect it?
No beer. No beer.
No beer. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this tray. Do you see a cooler sitting there around?
He may have a brewmeister somewhere in there.
I don't know. I hope so. We're going to find out though when we get down there tomorrow. All right. Anyway, I asked Bill if I could use these pictures he sent me, and he said sure. Anyway, that's it. That's one way to do Hamvention.
That's one way.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any other announcements for the good of the cause? Any?
Question.
Yeah, Dave.
I have not really talked to Mark on the original gangster recently because he's got the fox hunting equipment. So I don't know if anything's going on beforehand, but I do plan on doing a Bob Bone Memorial Fox Hunt again this summer. I think July was the best month to do it last year because of everything going on with June and field day and
Perfect.
all that stuff. So probably one of the last 2 Saturdays in July is what I'm looking at. If anybody's interested, please let me know.
I would appreciate it, Dave, if you would coordinate all of that with Josh. He's the ops committee, and quite honestly, I'm sure he would be more than happy for you to be the point person on that, which you are.
Me and Mark will work on that.
Yeah, Mark and yeah, absolutely. Okay, it'd be.
I don't need another job.
No, I'm not asking.
My question is July seem like a good month?
Yes,
for
yes.
everybody?
Way
Perfect.
better than June. Yes.
Absolutely. All right.
Absolutely.
And that's what we'll look at.
You know, the thing you got to do is just put it in the calendar, and because no date is ever perfect, as we all know. So you know, you put it on the calendar, and those who can do it, and those who can't, don't.
No.
So yeah.
Probably be the third or
Thanks for bringing that up.
Saturday in July then.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Any other announcements for the good of the cause? All right. The approval of the minutes. Now, I put copies of last month's minutes on the tables here for your convenience. I don't think I sent it out last month. We're in the process of using SARA Cloud storage now, and there's a way, and what's going to happen in the future, hopefully this month, what's going to happen is that we're going to, I'm going to give you access to the document. You're going to click on a link, and it's going to take you to the cloud, and the document's going to be there. You'll be able to download it if you want to, or just read it, or whatever, but everything's going to be online on our cloud. It's really a great system so far. Things are going really well with that conversion. A couple hiccups here and there, and primarily it's because of me. So despite my Academy Awards that I've won lately, I do make a couple errors every once in a while. Not many, but just a couple. Anybody have any comments on the minutes from 2025? Motion to accept?
Motion.
Stefan, second?
Second.
Dave? Oh, Chuck?
Chuck.
One of you two, or both of you? Any problems with the minutes?
Not that I saw.
All right, sounds good. All right, here we go. Next up, treasurer's report. Mike?
Okay.
Oh, Mike really screwed this up, I got to tell you. So explain yourself, Mike.
Well, first things first, I got everything done. I sent the spreadsheet off to Gary. And I looked at it a little bit today. I go, well, I won't say what I said, but it's what the pilots say right before they crash. Last couple months, I had the amount of money that we had in our PayPal account along with the $40 cash, and I just kept getting carried over. So the actual money on hand was overstated by that. I mean, it's not thousands, but it's going to have to be corrected. So that will be corrected for next month, but everything else is fine. Basically, the things that we had as well, we needed to order the 12 and 17 meter filters. We had to get the ARRL printed materials. Those are used for the new ham glasses. The Vista print is printed material for those. We also got some QSL cards. So. And I transferred $100 from PayPal into the checking account, and the flex weave for the field day antenna has been ordered, and that was $185. Now the deposit was at the end, and the reason is because I was having trouble with a check from one of the members. It was a USPS error. It wasn't mine or his. Something just happened. So I waited until the end, and then I put everything in. So, and then we always leave out $100. We use that for the repeater fund in case something breaks or things like that.
All right, very good. Questions? Yeah.
Yeah, real quick. I know we used to cap that at 2,000 just in case there was an emergency. Are we going to still do that?
Cap what at 2,000?
We always had that at 2,000. Remember in the past?
I think it's because we already have some backup equipment now.
The repeater replacement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not for replacement, just for maintenance, whatever.
Well, yeah. That was spawned from the catastrophic event that we had a few years ago.
All right.
Actually, a number of years ago, and we didn't have any money. So there was we came up with some money, and I thought at that point we need to have a fund. But right now we have a couple repeaters, VHF and UHF. We have a couple of repeaters on standby, all programmed. If we do have a repeater failure, it's a matter of running out and just slapping it in. So. Right now the executive committee feels that this is enough.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
yeah, that's we're good. We're good. We're ready to if we do have a catastrophic failure, we do have the cash to be able to, and the equipment on standby. To be able to take care of it. Okay, any other questions about the treasury report?
Hey, we got a message here from Jason. He must be watching along. It says we have duplicates of everything major. Swap out.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's too bad Jason's not here.
No.
Text him back. Tell him to get here.
He's listening.
He's listening. Hi, Jason.
And the rest of the world.
Oh, nobody told me that. All right, next up, committee reports. Here we go. Jason's committee report. What do you got for Jason's committee report?
I already gave it. He gave it already.
Okay, that's all done?
When you were on the phone, yeah.
Okay.
Get rid of that slide.
All right, thank you for that. I appreciate your indulgence there. And so does my daughter, Beth. Network gear. We had a problem with our All-Star link. Actually, it was an internet issue. It was very localized. It was our equipment, and Jason ran out and fixed it. We got it all fixed up pretty quickly. The bandpass filters have been purchased. The dipole legs have been purchased, as we talked about before. Raspberry Pis need to be installed yet. Repeater replacement cabling hasn't been purchased yet, but Jason is all over that. And field day initiatives to begin after Amvention. Sir.
I want to mention and give Jason some kudos because the repeater went down. What happened was, I guess the backup for the backup power supply for the peripherals, the Pis that run the connection to Echolink and to All-Star, those failed, so he had to go out and make cables. And the fact that he went out there between the board and breaker net and the beacon net and had everything up and running and functional in that time is commendable, absolutely fabulous, and very rarely happens with amateur stations. Right, Andy? Yeah. Okay. How long was the 015 thing? It was a couple of weeks, wasn't it? Before things got taken care of, put back together? So kudos to Jason. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, Jason does a great job, and we are lucky, believe me, to have him as part of our club, our organization. Okay, let's move on to Learning NVE Committee. Doug? Actually, let me just say first, I want to address the new ham clinic. It was a stellar success. Kudos to Doug for doing just a bang-up job. I think we have some folks here that were at the that class, and maybe you, Craig, you might want to say something in a second. But the class was just just an extreme success. The library was a beautiful place to have it, and anyway, that's where we are with that. So, Doug, you have anything else?
Yes, the credit for that particular event goes to Jason again. Jason did the presentation, supplemented by Ken Dorsey, and as you mentioned, the library was a very nice venue to do that. We had a total of 6 people that were in the class, and I think every one of them left with some information that they needed. And equally as important, we picked up 2 members as a result of that class. So that really wasn't the purpose of the class, but we picked up 2 members here. And on the topic of the VE sessions, we're looking to change the location of the sessions from the church in Sharon Center to a venue in Rittman that's yet to be determined. I'm working on that. I'll have that pegged down here in the next few days. But that change will not take place until October. So business as usual as far as the testing locations that are coming up. But in October, we look to have a new home in Rittman where many people have gotten their license previously. Not at the same location, but in the city of Rittman. So that's all I have.
And Stefan, do you have anything else on the VE tools or?
No, we're still lined up for that, yeah.
Okay.
We'll be sending that email out shortly.
Okay, perfect.
For everybody to join us.
All right, and that's going to be, how's that going to change how we do business?
Well.
Yeah.
I'll go up there.
I'm going to give you the spotlight, buddy.
Yeah, right. Okay. So everybody knows this coming June 5th is our next session, not digital, right? So everybody knows that at the church. Doug called me up this last week, I believe it was, and told me about the success he's found to do some new locations. And he asked me when we want to move in, and that was October. So we'd like to do our first digital session in August. I'm trying to get all this lined up. My friend and boss at Cuyahoga Community College, John Dolinar, W8LYO, he is the lead exam tools for SARA, and a really good friend of mine, like I said. So I sat in their session. He's actually going to be doing a training session with us. I'm going to send out all that information coming up shortly. Please let me know if you're still on the VE team, because that's an important first thing. I need to know if you're willing to be on the VE team to continue on, and if you are, also that it's going digital. So we're going to go digital with exam tools, and then how to get that process going. Then John will piggyback that with a session we're going to do on Zoom to show everybody how it works. And then Jason, who's probably watching right now, as he said earlier, is going to be talking about getting some Amazon Fire devices for us to use, not for students, but for the VE people, and then we can use them for other events as well. And once that's done, the digital basically is a student comes in, we still give them a printed. We're not going to go to a digital device yet for them to bring in. We'll give them a printed test as I just said the thing and I just forgot the NORS group does. We're going to print out a series of tests, a series of blank test sheets. As soon as the student comes up, basically the VEs, every VE that looks at now we just look at the ID card, and then we say, okay, you're ready to take the test. On the news session, everybody has to, if I look at it, I press the button and it says one test VE is on, a second VE in third, and then it goes green, and they are allowed to take the test. So all three of those VEs, then they have to look at the test. One person will grade the test. It's all computer graded. As soon as the computer looks at it on the camera, on the laptop, or whatever device we're using for that particular one of the fires, it automatically grades it, gives us a grade back. It says you passed or failed. So it's a very nice system. And then at the end, what's really nice, no longer have to go home and scan all these things, because the minute you close the session out, all those documents, the CSEs and all the documents, because they sign off and we sign off as VEs and as the test taker, they get zipped up, and we sent that whole zip right to the ARRL, and we're done. As we call it, and we can do it that same. Well, I do it that same day anyways, but I'm going home first to scan them. So I mean, we can as soon as I get home, I just verify everything, and boom, it's all sent within a couple hours. So, other than that, though, I think it's going to be a good process. Exam tools, and we have to go that before December anyways, because the ARRL said no more paper or anything. So there you go. That's pretty much it. But I think it's going to be a great system. Yep.
We really appreciate you taking the lead on that.
Yeah.
Stefan.
Yeah,
Thank
should be
you very
good.
much on that. All right. Give that to him.
So curious, Gary, about how many people showed up to this clinic?
We had, what, 6?
Oh, okay.
We had 6 students, and again, it was Ken Dorsey and Jason were basically the presenters. I just made a presidential appearance. I did. It was a great. I mean, that new Rittman library is outstanding. That's beautiful. I don't know that it will work for our VE sessions though, but nevertheless, it is a very, very nice facility, and maybe future classes that we have we'll hold there. So anyway, that was really very, very nice. And I do give Doug, Jason, Ken, and the whole group that put all that together kudos for a job well done. Yeah, absolutely. All right, next up, Member Support Committee, Ron. We have, where's Ron? There he is.
He's right over there. The guy with the red shirt.
Yeah, let's make him talk. Ron hates to talk to people. I get that part. I definitely get that part, but.
Well, once again, we didn't really do very much.
Nah, you did quite a bit, actually.
But we put together enough of a plan to get Brenda on the air on HF and get it up in the trees and stuff, so at least she's on the air now. Haven't really heard much about the Bob Bone thing. Guess he's supposed to.
I left a message with Barbara earlier this week. I have not heard back from her. I don't want to press her too much on it, really, so.
We're gonna do that on her schedule.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't wanna push her, let her do it.
Make another attempt at contact before the holiday.
Yeah, and this is not a good time anyway with Hamvention and Field Day and stuff. So,
I'll call her before Memorial Day.
okay, sounds good, thank you.
Anything else to add?
Nope, but 'tis the season.
Yep.
You're gonna, yeah, I mean, 'tis the
We'll soon
season.
maybe get a few things going, but.
Absolutely. All right, Ron, thanks for that. Ron does a great job, hates to talk to people though. That's why I abuse him like that. I do it on purpose. Right, Ron?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Next up, social committee. Stefan, you're back.
I'm back.
Wow, fantastic. So the multi-club POTA support, we got you guys covered. So
Thank you, Stefan.
you saw earlier the line item for Vista Printing. That's the new card that we're going to be giving people. It's got a barcode on it, just like that, that takes you to the SARA.
It's a business card size,
Yes,
right?
business card side is black. It's got gold on it on one side. It's white on the back. It's got the 2 ARRL special event or special group, special club logos that we get from the ARRL.
Yeah.
Those are on the back as well, the explanation. Really nice card. I liked it, and Vistaprint gave us that, so we're going to be handing those out. We got the ARRL stuff to pass out. And you'll be happy to know, Doug, thank you very much. Doug, who's handling our food items for POTA. So that way we don't get tarred and feathered. He's bringing his own portable grill, and we are going to do burgers as well as hot dogs. So, because everybody was up my, so anyways, about not doing burgers. So there you go. We're going to do burgers and hot dogs. So we got that covered for the POTA event, and we're also working on this T-shirt right here. I gave the information to the the executive committee about the pricing that I got for the T-shirts. Those will be posted at some point once Jason gets back from Hamvention.
Yeah, and we're gonna do that the same way that we did in the past. You're gonna order online. I'm rather reluctant to buy extras this time around because I've been carrying those T-shirts around for the last 6 months, and I'm tired of doing it. And please, somebody, come on. Just make me an offer. I mean, seriously, make me an offer and it's yours.
Yeah.
So quarters in my car.
We'll order them the same way. We'll order them the same way that we did online. We'll have that posted up there. You guys order whatever size and shirt. It'll be one color printing. That'll be the design. And the other thing too, I wanted to announce about the POTA thing. We got a lot of food coming extra. There was extra cookies and things, I believe. We talked about it at the last meeting. And Brenda, who is not her group is not doing the POTA thing, unfortunately. So she's ours for this POTA one. So she's gonna be our greeter. They're passing out anything that's needed, and she's bringing food, which is also another great thing. Because if you bring food and you're a greeter, you're in. Yeah. Other than that, I think that's it for this particular social committee thing.
Doesn't the shelter have a grill?
Yeah, but we're going to do...
Where's Nick?
What?
Oh,
yeah.
So...
We're going to do...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Doug. He's going to bring a very portable gas grill. That way
All
we
right.
don't have to deal with charcoal and all the other stuff.
That's fine. I mean, okay.
That's what
perfect.
I'm trying to get away from, yeah.
And Doug, thank you for that.
Doug, I appreciate you. So I appreciate all the social committee people if you're here. If you're not here, if you're just listening, we appreciate you all. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, and the field day thing, we'll figure out all the food stuff and we'll get that settled and down on our next committee meeting.
Right,
what we're going to do. And all that printed material that we have will also go towards that. That's why I got plenty of it so we can use it for multiple events down the line.
Perfect.
Cool. Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Stefan. Do appreciate that.
Thanks, guys.
All right. And this is the field day design. I think, Stefan, did we say we're gonna cut these 2 lines on the bottom?
Yeah, we'll cut the lines, yeah.
Okay. And then other than that, I mean, you don't need the days. Nobody cares about the days. It's always the last full weekend in June.
Yeah.
So if you need those dates, you can always figure them out. I guess that's it. All right, next up. Operations. Okay, now I kept this slide just for you, Josh, because you love that picture so much.
Great evil picture, man.
You look like you're stand right there.
Wow.
There you go. Perfect.
Hate that.
All right, there you go.
All right, let's put that back up. What a crappy looking picture.
There it is.
All right, we had our last operations committee meeting May 3rd. I think it was Saturday, May 3rd. We talked POTA, we talked field day, we talked future possible events.
Sorry.
And we had a couple of walk-in items. So we had 10 people join. That was the meeting. That was pretty cool. So it was a packed crowd, packed house. Next meeting, maybe in June, if we need it for field day, to be determined. But what else is going on? So that's the meeting. Let's see, what else? So POTA, Saturday, May 31st. We need activators and people to come out and have fun. So Stefan, thank you for everything you're doing on the social committee. It's majority of the work, I guess. Besides all the emails I've been sending out, so we appreciate that. Field day, Saturday 28th and 29th, Sunday the 29th. Nick's gonna talk about that. Hi kid, what are you doing?
Hi.
Fox Hunt, I'll put we'll talk Dave and we can get on the calendar.
We talk end of July.
End of July, sounds great. And we'll see about this September event. That's a future thing. So we'll talk more about that in a couple of months. Let's see, let's talk POTA. So this is the overall, like, overarching multi-club POTA event, right? Not just our activation, but all the clubs that are participating. So there will be clubs that are out. They're going to be different times, but there's quite a bit of overlap. There are 8 groups participating this year, which is phenomenal. We had, I think, 5 last year. The fact that we got 8 is just so cool. So the information for all of the different clubs and their activations is at that link,
I think that's great.
Northeast Ohio-POTA. If you go to the website, go to activities, go all the way down to the bottom, there's a link, and you can see a list of all, I'll show you on this slide, all the different clubs. So we've got NORS and Cuyahoga County Aries all the way out at Tinkers Creek. Warren is going to be at Mosquito Lake. PCARS is at West Branch. North Coast Amateur Radio Club at Cuyahoga Valley National Park. I'm not sure the exact location yet. I'm going to email him and get an actual location and a link, a Google Maps link. Canton Amateur Radio Club just signed up, so that's pretty cool. Craig and Mike, well, Mike's out of town, but they'll be out there, so that's pretty cool. Cuyahoga Falls Amateur Radio Club, they actually set up, I think from what I'm hearing, they set up at a church that's in Cuyahoga Valley, in Peninsula, but it's still within the national park, and so they activate from there, so that's kind of cool. And then Gene Marsh, he's a member of the PCARS Club. He's pretty excited about this. He's just going out on his own, but if you want to join him out at Triangle Lake Bog, I think that's in Kent, feel free as well. Contact information for all the people is there as well if you want to shoot them an email. I have the phone numbers if you just need one and want to call them, I don't know. But what's up? Go ahead.
I'm going to say, we're not going to stay out till 8 o'clock, I'm sure of that. I'm
Yeah,
gonna say 4.
I figured that.
I'm going to say probably 4 at the latest.
When Steve put 8 o'clock there, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be out
Is
that
it
late.
going to be,
These
do I need
are-
to talk with them about changing that? Because I'm sure we're not going to want to operate
I
probably
can
more
go
than
on the
4
website and tweak it, yeah. I'll bump it down to like 4 o'clock or
Okay,
something.
yeah.
I don't think you're going to be
All
out
right.
there later than that. The bands that most of the folks are going to be working, what else is going on?
We're Portage Lakes, right?
We're at Portage Lakes.
Okay.
Yes, yes. The pavilion is kind of difficult to find on Google Maps. If you search Walker Pavilion, it doesnn't really come up, but I have a link on the website to the exact location. Ours is oh, I cut ours off. Because I have all the information here.
I think you doctored that picture.
What?
Yeah.
No, that's a real life. That was a live action shot. Lucy got that.
Pretty sure that's what my face looked like when my ankle broke.
Oh, jeez. Anyways, there's a link to the Google
Yeah,
Maps
how am I dealing
pin
with those?
for our activation. We'll get back to that slide. But feel free to visit other club activations, especially if they're closer to you, I guess, where you live.
Hey, Josh, real quick, is
Yes,
that previous slide, is that on the website?
Which? This?
No, not that one.
I thought it was flagged. This one?
We're going to hurt him. We are going to hurt him.
This is on the website.
So if anybody wants that information,
Yes.
or
It's all
okay.
on our website. So
Yeah,
if you go to this link, this website, this webpage, or if you go to the activities drop down, go to 2025 Northeast Ohio POTA. All of that information is there. So also hunt from home. Feel free to hunt from home. It's a good opportunity, I think. There's an award, a POTA award called the 6-pack, where if you do 6-meter contacts, you get that award. So that's a good opportunity because there's a lot of people who could potentially be on 6 meters. All right, what else is going on? I think that's everything from this slide. Oh, and we're going to have the W8WKY and the W8OKE repeaters linked up. So if you want to see what's going on at the park, there's going to be a talk-in. And we're hoping other clubs will be on those frequencies. And if they're like, hey, we're on 40 meters, you want to come try to make some contact? Yeah, sure, let's go do that. So that's the thought there. Okay, all the clubs. All right, what else? 10 a.m. to 2. Feel free to get there earlier to set up activators. I'm probably going to try to get there at 8, which really means 8:30 and maybe 9. But
We'll move back to 7:30.
right, there I'll be on time. There you go. That's exactly right. Craig, this is why we keep you around.
Oh yeah. Oh, my God.
Let's see what else is going on. We do have an RSVP. If you're going to attend, you can fill it out to let us know how many. It gives us an idea of how many activators there will be and how much food we need to have. But I don't know. If you forget to fill it out, still show up. It's going to be fun. We're not going to run out of food. What else? I think we're good with that slide. Jeez. So details for the activators. So this year, I think what we're going to do is we're going to do individual activators will use their own call signs. Last year we activated W8, WKY, and then everybody sent me the logs, and that was fine, but I think it's just easier if everybody activates their own call sign, and then they can just upload the logs themselves, and that's kind of how PCARS does it, and the activators will come out to the location, they'll set up their gear. If they need help, people will help them, and they'll do their activation, and then they'll submit the logs. But if you need any help with it, I'm more than willing to help with the logs. If you've never done it before, don't let this stop you. If you're a technician and you want to try it, still come out. Even if you don't have gear, I'll have my 705 or maybe my 991A, and we could use the club call sign. That way, even if you're a tech, you can get on HF under the club call. So, what else? For bands, the way that we're going to do it is kind of similar to last year, where we're kind of in a very confined space. We don't have a ton of room to spread out antennas. I think next year maybe we'll try to get a little bit bigger of an area so we can spread out a little bit more. But we do have band pass filters. So when folks come out to set up, they'll set up their rigs, and they can come over. I'm going to have a sheet where you can just do a band checkout and say, I'm on 40 meters. And then when you're done, you can come over and you can use, its marker, you can just wipe it off of there. So Ben, if you want to come out and you're like, I want to try 40 meters right now, I'm going to hand you a 40 meter band pass filter, check it out, and are you okay? And you can go ahead and operate on 40 meters. So if there's like a really hot band, maybe consider only operating it till you get your 10, and then let somebody else hop on 40 type of a deal. So did you have a question, Gary?
Well, that was basically it. Are you going to be long enough to actually be considered an activator? No,
Yes.
You're using individual call signs.
Yes. Yeah. It could. It really depends on the bands. Like if the bands are really hot, like even on 5 watts. I got my 10 and 15 minutes on sideband on 5 watts a couple weeks ago, but some other times it just takes forever. So, right, yep. So we'll try to just communicate and make sure people are getting their turns taken. So, let's see. Other questions? No other questions. Okay. What else is going on? Logging. I recommend the Hammers app if you've never done it before. HAMRS. It's an app on your phone or software you can download onto your computer.
Easy to use.
Very easy to use. I love it so much. What else? Spotting, you'll spot with your personal call sign. What else? I'll bring a couple spare laptops and a couple sheets of paper if folks don't have logging stuff. The talk-in, the repeaters, and that's about it. If you want to spot yourself in advance, you can add yourself as an activation, schedule an activation on the POTA website, and you can tag yourself as Northeast Ohio POTA event so other folks who are around, who are members of the club, could hunt you who are hunting from home. And lastly, we need activators. So if you want to come out, bring out your gear. And what else? Potential special operating activities. I didn't get a lot of feedback on this, so I think we're just going to, if somebody wants to try to do some NVIS stuff, I know Brandon, KE8ARB, was interested. Maybe if he wants to do something, he can hop on the repeater and see if anybody's listening and find a frequency and try it. So I think that's what we'll do for that this year. And that's all I have for POTA. Do you want to talk about field day?
I'd love to talk about field day.
How many sleeps until field day?
44.
Okay, just checking.
And Josh, this belongs to Gary.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'll grab it. I won't make everybody spin their heads around. It's okay, I'll walk up here. Yeah, I'll drag it up here. All right. So field day.
I feel bad to make a crippled man walk up here.
That's okay.
Don't feel bad.
Click. Still on field day? All right. We rented the hall. That's it. So I was up at the Legion Hall instead of dinner tonight and walked around and just familiarized myself with some things. Not doing a whole lot different this year, but doing everything different. Now, the antennas are going to be in the same places. Jason had excellent propagation with where we put them last year. The big upgrade is going to be putting flex weave on instead of the wiring we used. 1,000 feet of wire. Wasn't so bad putting it up, but taking it down and putting it away was not fun. So that should make everything better. Plus, when we erect it this time, we're going to put it up with the mast that we are using at field day. So we should get similar SWR from that, so we won't have to do as much crawling up on ladders to put some pigtails on it and stretch it out a little bit. So that's good stuff. We're going to go 7 alpha again this year. Pretty much always have at least 5 or 6 people on radios, and then there's another frequency or 2 that we can play with. So to make sure we never have more than we're supposed to, we're going to go with 7 alpha, and we have a better chance of scoring better with that as well. 6 alpha just has scores in the ether, and the only way I figured out they could do it is they set up computers on every band and run FT8 from start to finish and get double points the whole way through. And I love FT8 while I'm doing something else. And I don't think you guys want to go in and watch people watch paint dry, because that's pretty much what it ends up being. Other major change is I've had the 20-meter spot for years now, and I've made 1 contact every year. So Ben's going to take over on 20 meters this year and actually sit there and do some contacting and not just hold a space for me that never gets there. And I think N8EAI is going to pick up 15 meters. So we've got a 15-meter band captain in Jim, and 20 meters there, and 10 meters there, and where's our 40-meter guy? Right there, and 80 meters back there, Phil. So those will be the station captains, and they all know what they're doing. So it's easy for me this year. Steph and I are going to get together and figure out some food stuff between now and then. No hurry.
Is Ben going to be doing his stuff in his hammock?
You bringing your hammock? All right. We may have a sleeper too, so it could be fun. So a lot happens between now and field day. Most of it happens the week before. So we do have a club meeting right beforehand. I'll probably put out sheets so that you guys can sign up and reserve some hours if you want to. And that just makes it a little bit easier, and those guys know when they're getting a break if you do that. I am looking for ideas for an educational activity still. All right.
Coloring sheets.
What's that?
Coloring sheets.
Okay, you're on it.
No, that's almost. that's
Betty.
That's almost
Betty will
as
do it.
bad as last year when we just put up graphs for propagation for antennas. But that 100 points is important. That's all I know about. That's field day. There'll be a lot more coming up. No, you can't have the clip.
Yeah, I don't need this either.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Stefan.
Yeah, so I had an idea for Josh, where's Josh at, or anybody here, because I know we had that blank thing on September for whatever, was it Lighthouse. The thing that's here all the time, and I know people would love to do it, is OSPOTA.
Yes.
And we could probably do the same portage. I did OSPOTA many years ago, and just working in a car, my radio on a buddy pole, I think I got 6th place that year. And it's on the sheet you can download from PDF. But the OSPOTA is a nice one too.
What is it?
Ohio State Parks in the Air. Yeah.
That's in September.
Yeah, that's in September. That's what I was saying about that. Yeah.
And it's like POTA, but it's a contest
Yeah.
essentially, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can, and I know we mentioned it before, so that's an option. Yeah.
So there's the Ohio CUSO party in August too. I'm not sure if that's another thing to consider as well.
Okay. This is good, because I need the feedback on like what we want to do.
And that would be an easy thing. That would be a pretty easy thing.
CUSO party?
Yeah, I would think.
Just like operate from
Sure.
Yeah, you just operate from home.
Yeah.
Social
We
committee's
could
not-
we could make maybe some club incentives or something
Yeah.
like that.
Sure.
I could give winners T-shirts.
Yeah.
That all that stuff.
Yeah, nice.
All right.
Very nice.
Yeah, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, like talk to me, because feedback is important. I don't know what people are thinking.
2021, was it really? Oh wow, great. All right, any questions for Josh or Nick? All right, nice job, gentlemen. And I use that term loosely. Yeah, nice job, nice job. All right, any new business that we need to consider?
Nope.
Anybody have anything for the good of the cause?
Brenda.
Gary.
Here we go.
Brenda had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, when Ron came up a while ago, he said a couple words and then sat down. I wanted you to know he worked so hard and climbed up on a very high roof, scared me to death, and he did most of this by himself. Another fella from Mark came out with this potato shooter, and we got the lines up in the trees, but he worked really hard, and by that evening I was listening to somebody in Iowa.
Nice.
Well, there you go. Perfect.
Where, and I was so pleased, and just wanted to say thank you.
Cool.
All right, very good. Ron is exceptional when it comes to that stuff. So
Yes, he is.
that's why he's heading that committee, that's for sure. Okay, anybody else for the good of the cause? All right, 50-50 raffle and adjournment is imminent.
All right, we took in $110 tonight. So $55 will get the winner and $55 for the hall tonight. There she is. Here's Betty.
Take it up.
Hey, you. We're gonna have you pick the ticket tonight.
Reach in there.
Pick one.
Reach deep.
There you go.
Mommy. Mommy's ticket. Mommy.
All right, our first winner tonight. Thank you. Don't go away.
Oh, wait, what is this for?
This is for the money.
The money. Okay.
The money.
And then you can put that back in.
Okay. 377-8252. 377-8252. All right. All right, and we have another bonus tonight. Scott Yonley was good enough to donate an ARRL manual to us. So we're going to pull another one and see who gets this one.
Take it up.
All right.
Betty, you're up.
Betty.
Pick a winner. Okay, there we go. And our other winner for tonight is 377-8283. All right. Dave. Congratulations, man.
All right, very good. Motion for adjournment. Mike. Second. Ted. And we are, anybody want to hang around?